dear influential leaders. This is Lenka and
Alexander.
And we are yet again together, and we record this episode this time from the Netherlands. After very successful travel time, we are here and we have the amazing opportunity to interview great people, leaders who once took the responsibility and made a huge change in their life. And today we interviewed a very special person, and we are just gonna introduce him in a second. Because there is a special meaning why we introduce this person in this Christmas time. It's December 2018, almost Christmas time, and we have a very interesting period almost behind our backs. We are about to launch our online program, the How to Work Stress-Free program, and we just launched a 3-part free stress-free masterclass. When you still want to go and grab this free How to Work Stress-Free masterclass, it's still available online for only a couple of days. So you can go to earnmoreworkless.com/stress-free masterclass. And why is this person special, Sander?
Justin is all about health, energy and healing. And his personal story, well, it's been very inspirational to me. Health is typically something that most people don't think about until they no longer have it. Yeah. Then it suddenly becomes a priority. And Justin has been dealing with some very big challenges. Lyme disease, a disease that in the world there's no cure known for. Well, he conquered it. In this interview he's going to tell us how he did it. Plus, it was the beginning of a series of miraculous healings that Justin brought into the world, his network, the people around him, people with all kinds of chronic challenges. So you right now, when you're listening and you have some challenge, or you know people who are dealing with chronic disease or anything, there may be some great tips and answers in here, because Justin, he tried it all out. Like, he has an open mind and he just experiments with everything that he figures out. And it is perfectly illustrated in this interview, because Justin, a couple of days ago, he broke his arm. And the way he deals with his broken arm, I say it's pretty unique. He opens up the whole registry of healing strategies and tactics and technologies. So let's dive right into it. Justin Phillips. Justin, welcome to the Influential Executive Podcast.
Hey, I made it.
Exactly.
Thanks for having
me. We love interviewing people who at some point in their lives made a decision to follow their own path. To live on purpose, to create their own journey. And you know, we met a couple of times now, both online and even physically in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And, well, your story, there's so many inspirational aspects to it, and you've had so many things go on throughout your life. So we thought we must capture that for our audience.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Well, yeah, love to share.
For me, it's still crazy to know that over here it's early morning, so 8 a.m. Over there it is 5 p.m. That's like all the way at the other side of the world. It's the beauty of today that we get to connect.
I love technology. I've been spending a lot of time on my bed, just on devices, on my mobile and on my iPad. And it's amazing how much you can get done with one arm and a device.
Yeah, you showed us that you, what did you say? You did a little tree hugging with a high speed?
Yeah, a little high-speed tree hugging, yeah. I recently took up enduro bike riding. I hadn't been on a motorbike for 20 years, and this is only my 4th ride. And, had a little accident, which ended up in a severe fracture, a crush injury of the radius, and I ripped off the end of my ulna. And they say the fracture line's going into the wrist. So they didn't give me specifics on that. But I'm using every technology I can get my hands on to accelerate healing, because if the wrist stays in the exact position it's in, I can avoid surgery. But otherwise I might need some pins and plates. So, that's my latest challenge, is to avoid surgery with a severe fracture to both forearm bones and wrist bones. So we'll see how I go.
Wow. Sounds like an interesting experiment. And on behalf of every human being with a broken arm, thank you for going through this.
That's right.
You are an expert at healing. So what are some of the techniques and strategies you apply to accelerate the healing of your arm?
Yeah, okay, great question. So obviously I'm using massive amounts of redox signaling molecules, but I am also nutritionally changed my nutrition to maximize bone growth and density, and also movement. So movement's a big deal with activating the osteoclasts and the bones in there, but trying not to move the unstable bones, but trying to move enough to get neural activation of the osteoclasts. I'm also using sympathetis. It's like a comfrey homeopathic. I'm using herbal comfrey, horsetail. I think some bacopa in there, which is like a nerve pain tonic. I'm also using a beamer. It's actually a German technology. It's back there. It's like pointing out my X-rays, believe it or not, and it's got Traumeel, which is that's a homeopathic that's often used in the European Soccer League, actually, for trauma. I've got redox molecules working on the beamer as well. What else I've got? I've got PMF, so I've got a small PMF device and a large PMF device, which I've been using. So that sends electromagnetic shock through the arm, and that it helps increase the electrical potential of the arm as well. I've been using an ointment that has magnesium in it and arnica homeopathics to reduce bruising and that sort of thing. I am on some painkillers, so my first time on opioids was last Wednesday, and opioids are really good. First time for everything, and so using them. Also, I've been doing like metaphysical stuff, so language of the body, secret language of the soul. Sorry, and also like Louise L. Hay. So risks are about control and getting stuck and being shackled and that sort of stuff. So looking at what aspects of my life do I feel like I've been stuck in and shackled, and so like releasing that. Doing a lot of visualization. So like even on my phone, right? So I lock my phone and I've got a perfect wrist there, right? So I'm like visualizing anytime I'm resting, I close my eyes, I'm like visualizing a perfect wrist with all the bones in place, using the power of the mind. So I had biomagnetism for the first time today. So I had a treatment for that. And that's more about actually like balancing alkalinity and acid parts in the body, and really at a microbial perspective. So it wasn't specifically on the bone healing, but by reducing the stress on my body by eliminating the microbes, then that can help my body have more energy to deal with the fracture. So using a physio key or a ski technology as well, which is like a Russian technology. And that kind of sends an electrical signal to the nervous system to go, okay, identify that's a problem area, so I need to my body puts more energy into that. So yeah, they're some of the things I'm using currently. I haven't got into acupuncture yet, or an EPRT, electro pulse regenerative therapy. So I'm hoping to pick one up on Wednesday. Yeah.
Well,
Justin, when did this happen?
Wednesday.
And so like a couple of days ago, let's say 5 days ago.
Yeah,
so,
but all of Wednesday I was in the emergency department all day, so Wednesday doesn't really count.
Okay, so let's count the 4 full days. And this is, guys, what happens when someone is an action taker, right? And that's how I know Justin. Like, Justin, you don't take any BS also from yourself. Like, whether you are sick, you are ill, you are tired, you're unhappy or whatever, you just go and you're like, hey, literally, I don't want to be in that state, right? I'm going to take action. So in just 4 days, this is the list. And I was so happy that I could at least understand few of them. I'm like, okay, count 3, I'm happy. I now know because I was in Bali. And okay, I know because I was again in Bali. And I actually used it for my wrist. Like, I was challenging my wrist and I put the comfrey around my wrist, and I was doing Reiki on my own wrist, and it really improved. And I learned that it was during the world wars when they used a lot of comfrey, indeed, for fractions and all kinds of broken bones. So I was happy that I got at least something.
Yeah. I didn't mention Reiki or energy healing, but yeah, I've been doing that as well.
And I can help you. I can heal you on distance. So I'm gonna definitely do that. I have your.
Please do. My wrist will appreciate it. All the help I can get. Yeah.
Just
I had a session with one of my business coaches who's an energy healer as well. So she's been working on me from a distance too.
Oh, that's brilliant. The more people, the better. Absolutely.
Yeah, my philosophy is when I have a challenge is just to approach it from every angle I can.
And that's really your story, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think your story is impressive. But before we dive into it, and it's closely related, my question to your story, you mentioned redox signaling molecules, and that's really a new technology. Many people don't know it. I have amazing experience with it, also thanks to you guys. So can you explain it in an easy language so that everyone can understand what redox signaling molecules are about?
Yeah, certainly. So redox molecules are the smallest physical particle of how our cells talk. So all cellular life form on the planet uses and produces these molecules in order to detect problems in the cell or in the body, to protect cells, whether that's activating the immune system or activating antioxidants, to repair cells and to replace cells. And that last one's really important because as we age, our cells don't replace fast like they used to when we're younger, and cells age and they slow down. And being able to send the signal to go, okay, you're an old cell, you're not working so efficiently anymore, or in the worst case scenario, you're a mutating cell, you're a rogue cell, and you're really dangerous to the body. We need to destroy you and replace you with a healthy cell. All those functions are regulated by redox molecules. So yes, it is a very new technology, and it's mind-blowing of what's capable with it. But yeah, so all life needs DNA, the instructions, the blueprint for health. It needs the redox molecules to help signal what those instructions are. It needs good nutrition, the raw materials to build the parts of the cell. It needs a great medium of water, of course. Good quality water is critical for life, and there you go. From particularly a physical level, that's the essentials. And then I think there's a little bit of magic, whatever your belief system is around that, soul, spirit, whatever it is. But yeah, that's a whole other ballgame, which I'm not an expert in, but the redox I know well.
So the redox signaling molecules are like the messengers who tell the body cells what they should be doing.
That's right. Yeah, the smallest physical particle of cellular signaling. So we've got lots of different signaling. We've got electrical signaling, chemical signaling. Hormones are a big molecule that does signaling, but redox is the smallest particle, and it's like the foundation of that signaling in the body. So very special technology, very powerful. And my experience in health, 22 years in health and well-being, both in emergency medicine and integrative medicine approaches and natural complementary medicine approaches, redox molecules, they are the most powerful physical healing technology I know of. Hence, I'm drinking and rubbing a lot of them on my body right now.
What I find so interesting is you've been in health and healing for 22 years. And you just gave us a whole list of technologies that you're applying on your arm right now to heal as fast and smoothly as possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel sorry for the person who's going to transcribe this because there's a lot of vocabulary in there. And out of all of those technologies and all the ones you do know but are not applying right now, and all the ones you learned about in the past, there must be hundreds upon hundreds. And yet there's this one thing that stands out for you, these redox signaling molecules. That stands out.
Yeah, it's next generation. It really is head and shoulders above the rest, yeah. It's my favorite technology. It's the safest, the most powerful, the best cost benefit ratio. Complements everything else. And that's a real criteria for me, is a do no harm first. And redox is, it's the best. For me, it's the best case studies I've ever seen. And I'm very, very grateful that we have access today in the world for that technology. Very cool.
Okay, Justin. So how did you get into redox signaling molecule world? Because for most of us, it's like even pronouncing it is still challenging. So and you have
Yeah.
quite some experience already in this world. So how did you get into that?
Yeah, sure. So when I was a young teenager, like I was 18 years old, I was bitten by an insect, a tick bite. And ticks are able to um, transmit a lot of different diseases, bloodborne diseases, viruses, bacteria, that sort of thing. But I wasn't really aware of that, and in Australia, we certainly weren't very aware of that at the time. And that was 24 years ago. And I had a couple of bacteria from that tick, and it was pretty nasty. And I started getting tired. I started getting sore joints and a lot of neuromuscular spasms and reactions. My back started changing shape. Actually, I've got some pretty bizarre X-rays of my back. Sometimes in like an S shape, and other times a big C shape. And
Wow.
so my body was really struggling to cope with these infections, and changing a lot. And so I was really forced through the pain to start studying health and well-being. And I'm fairly practical, pragmatic kind of a guy. I like to understand and figure stuff out. Luckily, I've got a bit of a talent for biology anyway. Even in high school, I was good at biology. So I started learning about the body. At first, I went to my local doctors and got the normal offerings of medication and surgery. I tried the medications. They weren't that good. They didn't do the job. I wasn't willing to have the risks, the potential harmful effects and side effects of surgery at that age. And thankfully I found acupuncture and massage at age 18. I was a pretty unusual 18-year-old. I was in yoga classes. I was starting, meditation, and I was doing all sorts of things to help cope with the pain. And I just started trying everything. I actually was doing energy healing and crystal healing back then, and I was almost doing it via my intuition. But yeah, particularly the acupuncture, the traditional Chinese medicine, the philosophy to life that comes with that really helped me cope. That taught me that if I was having an extreme in any area of my life, if I do the opposite, I'm going to help balance that yin and yang, right? And that's what I did. And I just started studying every health modality, technique, product, service I could find. And that journey led me through being a practitioner, and I studied massage from nearly all parts of the globe, and nutrition and kinesiology, and I worked in wellness clinics. I was a paramedic in the emergency medicine side of things for a while. I was able to get to a point where I was pretty fit and healthy, even though I still felt I had this underlying challenge. Because I was implementing and practicing all these things, I was able to maintain a pretty good lifestyle most of the time. And then I built my dream business eventually. I did personal training and taught Qigong and Tai Chi, and worked in gyms and did all sorts of things. But eventually I bought my dream business, which was a health food shop and a natural therapies clinic, because I felt that was the ultimate way to deliver holistic health to people.
Mm-hmm.
To have the practitioners there to be able to diagnose and prescribe, and then to have all the solutions there and provide the things they needed to achieve their result. And that was amazing. And we ran that for 3 years. We turned over close to $1 million. We had $120,000 worth of product on the shelf. I had 7 staff. I had 11 subcontracted practitioners. And we were able to help a lot of people. It was amazing. And I'm certainly grateful for my time with that. But then, there's one part of providing great health service, and there's another part of running a successful business and economics. And we had the global financial crisis hit Australia in where I live in Australia in late 2011. Ironically, it was around that time I was also introduced to redox molecules. So my wife and I shipped them directly from America. The company wasn't in Australia. And we used those products, and we had some real breakthroughs. We knew they were something special. In fact, my wife's chronic fatigue of 25 years disappeared in 3 weeks. And that was mind-blowing, because we tried everything for her, and we were spending about $1,000 a month on that. And the equivalent in the redox was only $200 a month, and we had a far better result. So that caught our attention.
Yeah. I bet that caught your attention. That is 25 years chronic fatigue.
And then 3 weeks.
Gone in 3 weeks. And
yeah.
So I like to zoom in a little bit on that, because what does it mean? Chronic fatigue gone. Did your wife, did she feel different, or how do you measure that?
Yeah, well, from the results of today, obviously I like to do extreme sports and like to get out and about and do things. And the lifestyle of having, a spouse, a wife with chronic fatigue, it means that weekends are pretty boring. It went from being tired constantly. Thankfully, she's very successful in a corporate career as a strategic transport planner, one of the best in Australia. But yeah, we just weren't able to live the lifestyle of, going out camping, an active outdoor lifestyle like I wanted to and like I'd been brought up with. So when that changed, when her energy levels really increased and we were able to let go of all of the other products we were using to try and keep her well, she started to do workouts, and we started to water ski, and we started to do a lot of outdoor activities that previously we hadn't done. And life became less about, weekend activities to do everything we could to be healthy, and more weekend activities to do things that we loved. And we still love being healthy, but love to experience adventure. So it was a significant change in quality of life. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And
Yeah.
So what happened after? Because this is the end of the story.
So then I had my economic challenges. And I live on the second largest sand island in the world. I live on Bribie Island in Queensland, Australia. And it's really a retirement community. I live on a golf course here. I don't play golf. I just love the environment, love the community. But the reality is when you've got a whole bunch of old people, and there was only 17,000 at the time, and their share portfolios halved in a couple of months, and there were people losing property left, right, and centre from the massive recession caused by the global financial crisis. People just stopped spending money on extra things, and they went back to the basics of spending money on food. And with a business of that nature that I had, the health food shop, the rents were very high, the labour was very high, and very quickly that change in the economy forced me I started to operate in a way that wasn't sustainable. So I had to make the hard decision to close the doors and had to go into bankruptcy from that, unfortunately. So I lost a lot. I lost everything I had financially, and that was very stressful. At the time of doing it, I really felt like I was a failure, and that really impacted my health because of the stress, and that started to really collapse my immune system and allowed that bacteria, which I've been fighting for 19 years, to come back.
Wow.
And that destroyed my health. But interestingly, fairly early after I closed the business and I was going in through that bankruptcy process, I was lucky. I did a lot of personal development. I used the Landmark Forum at that point. Landmark is a global education technology. And I was able to uncollapse the conversation that my business failed and I did everything I could to avoid that, as opposed to the story I was running in my head that I was a failure because my business failed. So that was a blessing in disguise. I think a lot of times when you go through adversity, if you're looking for the lesson, the wisdom is there. And that was a wonderful learning period in that respect, even though it was a very painful time of my life financially. But then my immune system collapsed and my health went down for 18 months to the point where I was in bed. I couldn't actually get out of bed a lot of days. I had light sensitivity. I couldn't eat most foods. I actually built myself an organic garden in the backyard, which I still have today, because I couldn't eat anything that had pesticides, herbicides, artificial fertilizers. I couldn't eat anything in a packet or a box or a jar. If it had any additives at all, preservatives, colorings, flavorings, it would make me really sick. I had massive pain and fatigue all over my body. I lost thermoregulation of my arms and legs up to my elbow and knee joint. So that was a weird experience. Massive spasms. My face was twitching and I had big muscle groups that would just spasm all the time. Reverse sleep. My whole circadian rhythms went out of whack, so I couldn't sleep at night. I'd toss and turn all night, and then I'd sleep through the day. It was tough. And when I got to the point of the light sensitivity, I knew that whatever I had this infection. I knew I had some sort of infectional condition that had definitely crossed the blood-brain barrier and had gone into my central nervous system. And I knew that was serious. And I was actually experiencing periods of dementia then as well. So that was terrifying to get to a point where I felt like I'd always sort of taken my thoughts for granted and was always, until the end of my days, I'd be able to rely on my thinking process. When you lose that, that's terrifying, right? Because you might break an arm or you might break your legs, but to think that you can't even trust your thoughts anymore, that's a whole other level of being an invalid. So that was terrifying. I can laugh about it now, but I suppose I laugh about a lot of things to sort of help me cope, get through it, take the positive attitude on it. But then I was obviously going to a lot of specialists, a lot of experts to try and find out what was going wrong with me, what was going on. And I eventually found a doctor who sent my bloods to America. And when that came back, I was diagnosed with chronic definitive Lyme disease, or Borrelia bacteria. And according to the Australian government, the Australian Medical Association, Lyme disease doesn't exist in Australia. So to get diagnosed with it in Australia is near on impossible unless you've been bitten overseas and they're willing to do the tests. But also the tests here don't seem to work. I had the Australian test for that 2 months before and it was completely negative. And then when I did the American test, it was chronic definitive, like you definitely got this and you've had it for a long time. And that explained all my weird and wonderful collection of symptoms. I also had mycoplasma, which is another stealth infection, and I had mild Hashimoto's, an autoimmune disease affecting my thyroid, so I had low thyroid function. And then I had some labels.
Yeah.
So that was kind of getting to rock bottom.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I found an integrated medical team here in Australia, thankfully, and they don't really advertise, but they do weird and wonderful technologies and a lot of things that your mainstream or your standard general practitioner medical doctor just would not do. And I started getting regular treatment from them. So I was using different electrical devices, bioresonance devices, and nano voltage devices, stem cell therapy, gene testing, nutritional, homeopathic, frequency medicine, using bioimpedance to measure my body. Really doing everything I could. I was also on this redox technology, but on a very low dose. And I didn't know how powerful it was then. I knew it would have a great result with my wife, but I didn't know how powerful it was helping me as well. Yeah. And I fully recovered after 5 months of treatment. I was at the clinic nearly every week, and at home I was extremely disciplined. So I was using every piece of health advice and health technique and tool that I'd learned in my previous 20 years, and I was applying all of it. And I think that had a lot to do with my rapid recovery as well. And so at the end of 2013, I was fully well. And 2014, I started the year as the practice manager and clinical assistant and a health coach at that clinic where I got treated, because they liked me and I loved them. I was deeply grateful for what they'd done for me. And I started working there. And what was really interesting is they'd never had someone recover in the period of time that I did. In fact, they'd had a lot of people that helped and gotten better, but they hadn't had a single one fully recover like I did. And so I was quite a unique case. And that's when I really discovered that the redox was such a big part of my healing journey.
That was the difference between you and all the other patients that were treated. That's why you were a separate case.
And there was also one more thing. You said, I was very disciplined. And I think that many people somehow know they are supposed to be disciplined. So what did that mean in your case to be disciplined? Because obviously you were using treatments they got, including the redox signaling molecule, whatever products. And then I guess you get some kind of therapy. So what did it mean? How did one day look for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I like to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people perhaps don't take enough responsibility if they have a health challenge. And it can be any area of life. It can be a business challenge. It can be a personal development challenge, right? When you want to change something, I think you got to work pretty hard and consistently on things to literally rewire your brain, to change your physiology, to change your behaviors. So what I did is, because I had the dementia problem and I would be walking through a room and I would completely forget what I was doing. So I knew I couldn't count on my brain just to remember what I was supposed to be up to. So I sat down and I wrote lists with a timetable, with the times of the day and what I should have been doing in my treatment. And I put them next to my bed. So when I woke up, it was on my wall. I put them on my fridge. I put them at my supplement counter. I put them around the house. And so if I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing, I'd just look over to the list. And it's a simple and very effective technique to keep yourself on track.
Wow.
But it's also, I think that, like, I know there's a lot of times in my life where I've known what I should do, but I've decided not to do it.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was just so serious. Like that infection, that disease, that kills people.
Yeah.
And I'd actually come across a number of people where their partners have committed suicide from it. There's a whole bunch of mental health with it as well, which I didn't really mention, but anxiety and paranoia and depression and stuff like that. And that terrified me. And I was like, right, I'm just fully going to commit to this. And so when I saw the list, I would get up and I would do what was ever on the list. So I was also very coachable. So I was coachable from my doctor friend, the naturopaths, and my kinesiologists, chiropractors that I was working with, and my wife. And I accepted that, okay, their results in health are better than mine right now. I should just do what they say. So
that's so important.
Yeah, that attitude of, being coachable. And I think, to be a great leader, you got to be a great follower.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you mentioned also your wife. I mean, many people, this is like, I know it from my own experience, that when your spouse advises you on something, you tend to listen to it, but you don't really apply it that often, even though you know it's the right thing. I mean, I'm purely talking from my own experience. I'm not going to hide that.
Yeah. Well, Lenka, you're human too, right? Yeah.
So, the funny part is, like, when you describe your situation, obviously I was nowhere close to where you were. I remember when we met, I was going through a series of migraines, literally every single day, high migraines for many hours in such a way. And I can handle lots of pain, but it was unsupportable at a certain moment. And I remember Alex was also trying to help, because he was obviously desperate as well. He wanted to help me. And at that moment, I realized, like, okay, how normal people having not so serious challenges, they don't tend to be disciplined. Just because it's not so severe, you are not really like, that you don't want this anymore. So for me, it was also at that moment, I would be willing to do anything. Like, if you're willing to really punch or go with your head against the wall, then anything that is better than that, you are obviously going to do. So I can really relate to that. So what your wife, her name is Nicole?
Nicole, yes. So Nicole was great. Honestly, I don't know if I'd be here today without her. Certainly her financial support through that period, that she took on a huge amount of responsibility to support us financially, but the emotional drain from me must have been massive. A lot of people with Lyme and Borrelia, they experience a lot of periods of rage, and it's literally the brain being irritated by the bacteria, and it's irrational. So I was not fun to live with, and she was extremely tolerant and loving and caring to support me. A lot of days when I was at my worst, I couldn't get out of bed to feed myself. So she would make what I call my vampire juice. And it was about a litre or 1 to 2 litres a day of carrot juice and beetroot juice and parsley and a little bit of green apple in there just to taste it, make it taste a little better, And if I couldn't get up and make it, and that was most days, she would make it for me. And, so her discipline was inspirational to me as well. But yeah, it's. I think it's just about absolute commitment. If you really want something to change, you've got to change, and we did that, and I did that, and I I was able to overcome those challenges. So some of the other disciplines that I used, I used far infrared saunas to raise my core body temperature and boost my immune system that way. I did dry skin brushing. I did oil pulling and tongue scraping, and I did a lot of Tai Chi and Qigong and a lot of meditation. One of the things I did during that period, and it was almost like a great reprieve for Nicole, I went for a 10-day silent retreat during my treatment. And that was amazing. And in that philosophy, it was the Vipassana philosophy. It was about just observing your body sensations, observing your emotions, observing your thoughts, but not having attachment to that, letting that go. And in the 10 days, we weren't allowed to look at people. We weren't allowed to communicate in any way. We really were living like nuns and monks, and the men and the women were separated. It was very simple food. It was very uncomfortable trying to sit in meditation for hours and hours a day. It was very uncomfortable and painful. But the process, it did something extraordinary to me. At day 6, I felt like I was being tortured and I was climbing the walls. I felt like I was in prison. But day 8, I had a bliss come over me, and just a real peace that was extraordinary. And I really would encourage everyone to at least do 10 days of silent meditation retreat in your life, because it just took my consciousness to another level. And even today, if I have any major challenge, including this, because when I did this, I was out in the bush and I had to wait about an hour and a half for a friend to go take his bike back and bring the four-wheel drive back. And in that time, I had no pain relief whatsoever. And as soon as I did it, I looked at my hand; it was deformed. I knew, okay, all right, I'm going to have to suck this up, because the adrenaline only lasts 20 or 30 minutes. And after that, the pain kicks in. Yeah. So I just started breathing and just observing the sensation and letting it go. Really practicing the detachment.
This is fascinating. And another thing that stands out, and I don't know if everyone caught it, but it's the fact that you follow through. You don't give up. Obviously, you are in pain or whatever pain, emotional, physical. You keep going even though you don't see the results in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Like namely, your meditation in silence, the 10 days, you actually didn't see anything really, really happening. Like the bliss came the day 8. Yeah. While most of people expect miracles, overnight changes, right? And that's also what the media feeds us, kind of. While about observing the step-by-step changes, and even though the change is not immediately in a positive way, because sometimes it goes first down before it goes up, right?
Yeah.
Many people give up at that moment. So is it something that you knew, or is it something that you also learned in the process of healing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. So many people do give up too early, and it's kind of perpetuated in society that there's this magic cure or this silver bullet or this instant gratification. I think like learning the discipline of delayed gratification is so important. I'm super grateful to my father. He taught me that as a child, that things don't come straight away. You've got to work towards things. But it's also, I think over the years, I've developed a faith of, look, even if it doesn't turn out for the best, I gave it my best. I can be grateful for that. I think an attitude of gratitude is a really great starting place. With anything I do, I come back to that place of an attitude of gratitude, and then just like, let's just go for it and see how, do our very best. And I'm sure we're going to be better off than where we are now, and keep doing it until you get there. Yeah. The first 8 days were not a lot of fun in that meditation course, I tell you. And then day 8 came, and it was like, wow, it was amazing. And I'm so grateful that I stuck with it. And I saw myself struggling. I saw other people struggling. I think one person actually left the course. But I see that in all parts of life. I see it in business. I see it in people, doing like fitness. When I was a personal trainer, people give up all the time. I see it in relationships a lot. And that breaks my heart, because, I think I see on TV and movies that, people lived happily ever after again. Well, I don't know any partnerships that never have some challenges. And in fact, if it was all perfect, I think we'd get bored, right? It's the challenges that make us grow and develop. And I think, it's really important to to develop that ability to stick with things and to follow through and see it out to the end.
Yeah. I want to hear more about what happened at the clinic.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
we were at the point of the breakthrough.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah. You were the special
so,
case, and we figured out what is the one single difference. So
yeah, absolutely.
Know about the beautiful new world that opened up.
Well, yeah. So I'm working at this clinic, and I'm a contractor, but I'm just getting pretty terrible wages. I'm not going anywhere in a hurry or anything like that. But I'm helping people, and I'm learning so much. This is a pinnacle of my career of integrative and medicine and holistic approach to healing. And I'm seeing all these people coming through, and some of them spending a lot of money and a lot more money than me. And I know we're helping people, but I'm getting angry and I'm getting frustrated because I'm thinking, why haven't any of these people healed? Why, like I spent $15,000 in 5 months, but I saw people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're genuinely doing our very best to help them, and they just weren't getting the breakthrough as well. And it was about 6 months in, and thankfully a friend of mine called me from America, and they said, hey, that redox stuff, well, because I was taking a liquid internal version of it, there was an external topical version that was created. And they put it on the skin, and it helps the outside cells act and heal like they're younger. So people were getting less wrinkles, and like people were using it for parts of their body that were sore, and they were getting breakthroughs with that. And they said, hey, do you want to be involved with this? And I said, absolutely, send me some over. So we got some of these tubes in Australia, and we started putting it on patients. And that's when I saw a breakthrough in some of these patients. And one particular patient, her name was Rachel. Rachel had been sick for about 30 years with various infections and parasites and so forth. But for 13 years, she had the same illness that I had. She had Borrelia, she had Lyme, and she was the worst case of co-infections I'd ever seen. So she had a whole bunch of different bacteria, viruses, and parasites. And at that point in time, she'd spent $300,000 on her health. And she was better at times, but she was worse at times. She just couldn't make a significant shift in her health, and she couldn't drive a car. She was in around 40, and she had a young child, and her marriage was suffering from that. She was down to 4 foods at one point. She was so intolerant to food. Her food selection was tiny. And she was a basket case emotionally. She just had really started to lose hope. And I saw her one day. She was in tears with a mum, and a 70-year-old mum was driving around because she couldn't drive. And we decided to put some gel on her for a couple of times, at least twice a day, on areas that were painful for her. And she couldn't actually turn her head 90 degrees to the side because of the stiffness in her neck. She actually didn't have the mobility, but also the inflammation and the pain. And after just 2 days, she started to be able to turn her head. And she was over the moon about that. And her life was Facebook because she was bedbound. And she was just recording her life on Facebook, and other people picked up on that. And that was mind-blowing. That was a whole other distinction and part of my life where I started to see that I could help people with health, and I could give them a fish and feed them for a day. But then also when I figured out a way to help people with their abundance and their wealth, then I could teach them to fish and feed them for life. And Rachel got better. It took a while. Took nearly 2 years to get her fully well. But she got better. And it's just mind-blowing when you can help people go from that to getting their life back. Wow. That's a special gift.
Wow, Justin, now mentioning all of those stories, can you mention the name of the products?
Yeah, sure. So it's ASEA, ASEA, and it's Renew 28 is the gel. And that gel, that's I call it the magic gel. That's what I put on everything that's sore. It was the very first thing I put on this. I ripped my glove off. I had it in my backpack, and I put the gel on, and I sculled a whole pouch of the ASEA, and yeah, it's beautiful stuff.
It is. And I have to say, I'm personally involved, and I see all of those stories of the people. And the funny part is that I have personal experience with my mom with with the Renew product, with the gel that you put on your, let's say, body, on the parts that either hurt or anyhow having challenges. And I remember, like, I started to use Azia, the water, when I had the challenges with my energy or migraines, right? And I was really like, indeed, I was not sleeping properly. I couldn't sleep. I was tired, and everything was sore, like from my neck and everything. And I had extreme results with this. Like, I got pretty much my health back in control within like 3 weeks, was it, of using, or a month, something like this. And that was brilliant. And there I saw my mom, and my mom had these challenges with her skin on her face for like a year and a half, where she, after menopause, I think her hormones were changing, and she had almost like acne on her face. And that's obviously, when you're in your 50s, it's not really something you want to be experiencing, because you get uncomfortable, you are not used to it, and out of sudden you look like a teenager. So even though my mom doesn't really care that much about this, still it makes her feel uncomfortable, and she doesn't feel in her skin. She doesn't feel well. So I know some people, they are like, I don't really know what it is, and what if it doesn't work, and I don't really know how, and I don't really understand it. Like, to be honest, I also am not that experienced as Justin is. So when it comes to explaining redox signaling molecules, I didn't probably do such a good job. So what I did, I just brought water, and I brought Renew when I came there for holidays. And I said, Mom, you know what? 3 times per day, put it on your face. And I was there next to her like, Mom, gel, Mom, gel, 3 times per day. Water, here, 60 milliliters, water. So I was feeding her. Just in I think it was 3.5 days, literally 95% of that was gone.
Fantastic. That's awesome, Micah. That is so good to hear. Yeah, I haven't heard that story before. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
The thing with this story is that it also managed to convince me, because I learned to be skeptical about these things. And I don't want to be like, I'm one of the most open-minded people I met, and I'm really easy to sell to and all of that. But I learned to be skeptical, because the amount of wonder products that I have seen pitched in my life, it is endless, and there's just been so many deceptions. But I was there that week. It was in July, in the summer, and I remember us arriving there, long ride by car, 1,000 kilometers. So we've been driving for like 10, 11 hours. And when we arrived, Lenka's parents came to greet us. And I remember that kissing her mom on the cheek, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to touch her cheek, because it was all red and a bit purple, and her skin was in a bad state. And then seeing that day after day diminish, and indeed day 3 and day 4, and by the time we left, her skin was back to normal. Seeing that, with a problem that has been persevering for 1.5 years, like, that is the thing that pulled me over the line.
And the energy is like, my mom, they have many activities to do. Like, they have their farm, and they are both still having their own jobs. And the thing is that her energy was dropping, and she got also, like, a year or 2 years ago, almost in a burnout because of all of what was happening in her life. And literally after like a month of drinking that water, I remember clearly being with her on a phone, and there was something different about her. There was no longer the mom responsive to my question. Like, she was not just this, yes, fine, and replying to my questions. It was her talking for like 90% of the call. So I was asking, Mom, how are you feeling? She's like, I have so much energy. This is so good. And I'm going to order the water again.
That's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's so great to hear, Lenka. And that's a lot of the feedback we get is this uplifting of mood and this clarity of mind. Yeah, the more energy as well, but the quality of life. People just feel a lot better. And it's great to see people, when they've been like that, they're not well, and they don't even know how unwell they are. They just lost so much quality of life. When you see them come back to life and get bright and clear and sharp of mind, it's like, wow, that's cool.
And this discovery, I understand, opened up a whole new chapter to your life, because part of the reason that you are here on the Influential Executive is what inspires us about you is you found this miraculous technology.
Yep.
And you decided to dedicate your life to helping people benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting story, Alexander, too, because when I made that declaration, it was actually February 2012. So at that point in time, the company wasn't in Australia at all. And I had to wait years before it came. But when we saw the results with my wife, and I had some benefits too, even though I had all the stress at the time of my business and so forth, I knew that it was impacting my body. I slept better, which was one of my major challenges. I've been quite an insomniac for most of my life, and I knew my sleep was deeper. It was a better quality of sleep. And I saw some other people have amazing health breakthroughs. Mum he had high blood pressure for 20 years, and that came back to normal. First time he got off medication in his life. I had another lady who had nerve pain, and she was, for 10 years, she'd nearly ripped her ankle off in a paragliding accident. And she was heavy pain medication. And after 3 weeks, she was able to stop the pain medication, things like that. I was like completely different conditions and a great result. And I was like, wow, this is important to humanity. And I didn't know anything about the business behind it. I didn't know what kind of financial opportunity or anything it was. I just knew that humanity needed to know about it. And so in February 2012, I made the declaration that from nothing, whom I am is the possibility of making a SEER available for all Australians. And then I kept investigating it. We actually went over to the US in late 2012 and met all the founders. And I was equally impressed with their integrity and their business sense, like the master strategists in business. What the head founder used to be the third top man in craft food, nearly a $40 billion company. So he was a super clever man. And I loved who they were as people, as generous, good-hearted people that really wanted to get this technology into the hands of people. But it wasn't until August 2014 that I had the opportunity to start actually doing the business in Australia and having good supply of the product and really getting it into the hands of Australians. But the most ironic thing was when a SEER was made available for Australians, it was on January 26, 2016, and corporate didn't know about it, but that was actually Australia Day. And my declaration was to make a SEER available for all Australians. And something special was about that. That was a special time in my life where I felt like I came to completion on seeing that vision and implementing it. And now we're beyond that, and it's bigger and better.
Sure.
So for those people who don't know you, Justin, can you just share where you are right now? Not only that you are having a business with your wife, which is outstanding. You work the two of you together. You have your little baby. And
yes, a life change.
Yeah, you have a successful business as well.
Yeah, So exactly.
Describe a little bit what does it look like having a successful business doing what you do?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. It's this business has allowed time, money, and location freedom, like I dreamed about, but I never saw was possible. So my wife and I have both been self-employed and in business most of our life, except for a short period as a paramedic. I haven't been employed much of my life. I've mainly been in business. And, I was always entrepreneurial and always dreamed big, but I didn't know how I was going to develop true residual income. I studied a lot of wealth creation, studied a lot of personal development. But this business has a partnership with the corporate side that looks after all the logistics and the operation side of it. And that allowed us to free up our time and focus on being leaders and developing a team and finding other leaders, other people that were inspired to live a better life. And so now it's an amazing community. We had our Christmas party just on Saturday, actually. And to be with people that they feel like family. The finances are great, like literally, multiple six-figure residual income. I can stop work at any time. That income continues to grow. In fact, when we had our baby, and we're late starters, we were 40, or Nicole was 39 when we had our baby because of her 25 years of health challenge and my 20 years of health challenge. and the fertility was amazing. There was one possible time where we could have conceived, and bang, it happened. So there was all the plumbing, and that was good. And then to be able to have time off and have a baby and have a business grow and have these other leaders step up around you, and it's a global business. I'm in like 20 plus countries in the world. In fact, I don't know how many countries I'm actually in. About 8,000 people plus in the team, and to just see this check turn up in the bank account every Friday is just a blessing. But to me, the real gold of it is like we're all humans. We all need to get out of that rat race and get out of the survival mode and get into that thriving mode. And to me, it's like who you become in that journey. It's who you become as the leader and what you're able to contribute to. When I've studied like ancient philosophies and religions and so forth, so much of it is about living a better life. And when you are in a state of abundance, you can live a good life. You've got more to give. You've got more money, time, energy, and mental capacity to be able to think creatively and help people solve problems in a better way. Mm-hmm. And that is the real gift that I want other people to have, is to become a leader in their own right, to become true entrepreneurs and to live a good quality life. And, when you give back, contribution, that's the best.
There's just one more question on my mind, and I'm sure that the question is on the minds of many listeners as well, is with this new technology and it being so amazing and all, how come I don't see it in the pharmacies? How come I don't hear about it on television?
Good question. Well, if you, I think in most big pharmaceutical companies today, about 37% of the cost of the drug is actually the advertising. There are different systems of business that are set up, and there's the new economy that's really coming, right? So the richest man in the world today is the owner of Amazon. And Amazon is a direct-to-consumer, a kind of style of direct-to-consumer style business. And this is becoming much more prevalent in our economy, where people are cutting out the marketing, they're cutting out the middlemen, and they're going directly from manufacturer to consumer. And that's what our ASEA business is. It's a direct-to-consumer style business. Now, it also has a compensation and a financial reward plan that rewards people that go out there and builds a network of consumers, both other people that are going to become leaders and build a business and people that just want to use the product. So that's why you don't see it in a lot of shops, because it's this direct-to-consumer style or relationship-based marketing model or network-based marketing model. And network marketing is a very interesting industry. I never had any previous experience in that industry prior to me getting involved with this. And frankly, if it wasn't for the power of the product and if it wasn't for the integrity of the founders and the owners and the executive committee, I wouldn't be involved. I like you, Alexander, I'm very skeptical about things. I like to test things and trial them. And I've been off these products a number of times and I don't like being off them. Every time I'm like, yeah, I'm back on them. These are good. But I've also really looked into this industry now, and I am amazed at this industry because the truly successful people in this industry, they have outstanding integrity. They have outstanding vision and leadership. And at the level of the game that I'm playing at, it's about building teams. It's about building people. We got to move product to pay the bills. And we want to share the molecules to help people, of course. But the most important thing is to build people and lift people up and educate them and empower them to see their big vision, to look at the dream and then to identify the obstacles to that and help them get there. And that is a mission that's a problem big enough, worthy of my life. I want to rise to that challenge. That's a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love it. I love the integrity and the sustainability of the whole approach. Makes it very powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm stepping into the shoes of the people listening right now, and we've heard many stories come by, and I can imagine it in our audience. There's so many people who either themselves or people in their close surroundings are dealing with some some chronic or long-term or serious disease or challenge.
Yeah.
Now, what type of actions do you recommend? And does this really work with every type of challenge?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So definitely I don't make any promises. I believe the best way to do business and to help people is to under promise and over deliver. So I always want to help educate people and give people choices. And so we know that because of the type of this technology is, the more of these molecules the body has, the better the body is able to balance itself and to be healthy. So it doesn't really matter what the condition is. There are very few exceptions to, like, we always want to be careful the way we do it, but this is a very safe technology. It's only people that are really sick that have to kind of go a bit slower than an average person. But for the 99% of the population, they can just start to add this technology in, and we know they're not going to have any big reaction or anything because it's the same as what their body's making, and their body's just going to start to cleanse and heal and get better and stronger all the time, right? Yeah. So it's very safe like that. And we have an education program that they can plug in, and online groups and social media where they can find out information and get their questions answered if they want to. But it's about doing your due diligence and doing your research. And being a skeptic myself, all you need is more information to make a better informed decision. And this kind of goes back to what you said before, Lenka, about following through. A lot of people don't follow through with the information that they learn. They don't really look at the science. They don't really understand things. They tend to believe the advertising that's on TV. So a long time ago, I decided, okay, look, TV is designed, and most mass media is designed to sell me stuff. Yeah. So it's literally conditioning me. How about I switch off from that and I start to consciously choose what information I put in my brain? Because I'm not that clever. There's only so much stuff I can put in my brain, right? I very easily get overwhelmed, just like everyone else. Yeah. But I selectively turn stuff off so that I can choose what goes into my brain. So if someone is dealing with a challenge, with a health challenge or a chronic challenge, and many people are dealing with financial challenges, right? And they're looking at what are some solutions to that, then sacrificing some of the rubbish information and spending quality time and doing good quality research on what this can do for them as a health technology or as a financial opportunity, that is a great investment of their time. Mm-hmm. And that's what I say to people. This breakthrough, this is worthy of your attention. It's worthy of your research. Mm-hmm. And don't make a 5-minute split decision on this stuff. Take as long as you want. I'm not pushing anyone to do anything. But I've got a whole team of volunteers that are going to be lifelong customers because they know how good this is. I encourage people to discover that themselves.
Yeah. For me, Zia, related to what you said, has become really time, money, and energy saver. Just literally, because I funny enough, I was cleaning cupboards like a week ago, and namely with all health products, so all kinds of, from painkillers, but all kinds of other things that were there. And I saw that I throw away immediately 50% of that because I don't need it anymore. I just know, okay, I am experiencing some, I don't know, either cold, now it's winter here in Europe. So easily there are lots of people, viruses and illnesses. I just know that okay, I'm just going to drink my water. And within a couple of days, I am feeling really fit. So I don't need anything like that anymore. I just am using Azia. So I use time, money, and energy. So for me, that works really well. I don't need anything else. Just one thing for everything, pretty much.
Justin, thank you for sharing your story.
My pleasure.
It is quite a story, quite a discovery, and something tells me that there's a lot more to come as well. For the people listening, what is the next step? What do you recommend to people hearing this saying, yes, this is worthy of my attention. I want to find out more and see what is the right way to go for me. Where do they go?
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. Well, obviously get in touch with Lenka. She's passionate about it. She likes to share it too. So, there's social media groups where you can jump on, and it's got a whole lot of files, a whole lot of videos that you can watch, and you're welcome to ask questions in there, and Lenka can can connect you with specific groups where there's safe groups, and there's, we moderate that so that it's fair and equitable for everyone. There's also some great websites like ASEAScience.com. That's a corporate website, and there's a whole lot of published studies on health benefits there. And you're talking about immune system before, Lenka. Well, one of the genetic studies, after 8 weeks of 120 mils twice a day, an increased genetic expression of 20 to 31% of the immune system at a genetic level. Like, that's enormous. So, just understanding this stuff, reduction of 23% wrinkles in 28 days. These are big health benefits. And we're not making any claims here, but, do the follow through in the thought. If it's doing that cosmetically, but it's not a cosmetic product, it's a cellular health product, what else is it doing? It's helping all those cells be healthier. So it is going to help everything. It can't do any harm. And go to these sites. The Redox Doc is a great independent site, actually, from a medical doctor and a functional medicine doctor in the US. And he's just a redox researcher. He loves redox. He talks about how redox impacts all kinds of disease, from cancer to autoimmune to all sorts of things. Not making any claims, doesn't even mention the products on the site. But when you understand how redox is fundamental to health, and this company is the only company in the world that has these balanced bioidentical redox products, the same as what we're making, you boost that up, the benefits can be massive, can be really huge. So obviously anyone can reach out to me as well. So, Lenka, yourself can connect people with me if they've got more in-depth questions. And, we have a team of thousands of people around the world. We have a lot of different healthcare professionals involved, everyone from massage, nutrition, kinesiology, chiropractors, doctors, physios, like all sorts of people. But we have a lot of other people that aren't into health. They just want to have a good life, and so there's all sorts of avenues to look at. So, yeah.
Cool. We're going to share all these links in the show notes so that they're easy to find.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Justin.
And link website as well, put that in there, because there's like company information on that, and more information. I can contact Lenka through that website as well.
Well, absolutely do. Justin, thank you so much for being so open and sharing really all the details. Many people wouldn't talk about them, and you see the beauty in it and the power in it, that people will get inspired by your huge transformation of your wife. So thank you for sharing your life, guys.
Absolute pleasure, guys. You guys are amazing. I've got so much respect, and you guys inspire me all the time. So thank you for everything you're doing. I see a great collection of books there in the background. I think I recognize at least one or two of them. And you guys are, I can see a few more now. Yeah, I do recognize a few of them. Start with why. Absolutely. So, look, love everything you do, and thanks for having me on. And if I can be of any service in any other way, just reach out anytime. Stay well, and wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much.
So you heard it yourself. Everything is possible, even though you maybe have some health challenges and maybe your business doesn't go the way you want. There is always a solution. And Justin, that was just amazing, his story. It was beautiful. And you could hear as well my story and how ASEA has helped me to cope with not only migraines, but with my low level of energy and climbing out of my burnout state. Whenever I am a little bit sickish, or Alex is a little bit sickish, then ASEA is the thing that help us to get out of it way faster. And I was just so impressed by Justin's story, with his vulnerability and his willingness to share as much as he can with the world.
He is a man on a mission. We will make sure that we post all the links in the show notes, so that when this resonates with you, you can find out more. You can dedicate at least a portion of your time to researching this new technology, all the possibilities that come with it. And also, there's still a couple of days left in the stress-free masterclass. If you are on a mission, whether it is building your own business or you're working in a bigger company and you're on a mission to be the best mom or dad you can be, the best spouse you can be, that is who we created this program for. The How to Work Stress-Free Masterclass. It is possible to be stress-free. We've been studying this for 11 years and all the best materials are now temporarily available online. So that is earnmoreworkless.com/stress-free masterclass. We include all the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening. And right now, let's all go out, influence people, spread the love, and have fun.